All right, we are here taking a look at Pause to Play, and I'm joined by Rhett. Thank you so much for coming on the stream. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run the game here. And if you can start by telling us a little bit about your background in game development.
Um, I'm kind of new. I started like a year and a half, probably year and a half ago. Um, kind of inspired by like Hollow Knight, and I wanted to start making games, basically. I really like Metroidvanias and just like 2D games in general. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the sort of like 2D type games as well. Haven't actually played that many Metroidvanias, but I have worked on a fair number of like 2D platformers.
Yeah, they're similar.
Okay, well, let's get right into it then.
I do
So we
also really like puzzle games, as you can probably tell.
so this is
Most of the games that I've released have been puzzly, just because I find that's the most fun type of game to make and the easiest, because you just come up with a mechanic and then build off of it. I mean, that's how most games are, but with puzzles, they just kind of build themselves sometimes.
yeah, I mean once you get that sort of like um core concept, you either get things that like really lend themselves to a lot of puzzle ideas really quickly, or you might need to start like adding additional mechanics or complexity. Like, yeah, I totally know what you mean. I haven't worked on like that many puzzle games, but I've made some sort of like puzzle platformers, and I get a similar feeling to that.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So, can you talk a little bit about the inspiration behind this game?
Yeah, so I was working on another game actually, and making a UI for it, and I realized you can add colliders to UI, and I just kind of that's when I got the original idea. So I've kind of had the idea to make a game with like interactable UI as part of the platforming in my back pocket for a while. And then when I heard the theme, I was just like, oh, reverse the role of the UI. And then I just kind of went with that. And then I just tried to make it as immersive as I could. Like I tried to make the UI as I kind of did change the idea originally. I wanted there to be a lot more to do with the UI, but because the player has access to the same UI in every level, I couldn't give them like a ton of resources, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I had to limit what they were able to do. So there's just a couple sliders. There's some text you can interact with, and there's the mute button. I have actually been working on a full version, which has a lot more features. And that's basically done. Just kind of waiting to hear back from like Cool Math. I'm trying to get it on there
Oh,
before I
nice.
release it.
Have you already gotten in touch with them?
Yeah, I sent him an email like a week ago maybe, but I haven't heard anything. But that game's like way more polished than this, but this is just like sort of the beta, I guess.
Yeah, so just the reason I ask is because I've got a game released on Cool Math, so I
Oh,
know
oh, that's cool.
I
Yeah.
have one contact there, but I can point them to this and say like, hey, check it out, cool game.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Sweet.
Yeah, we'll get in touch after the interview, and I'll after the stream rather, because I've got one more interview after this, but we can definitely get that
Gotcha.
figured out.
Sweet.
But yeah, I definitely appreciate the sort of simple approach. Like I think it's a good test of an idea is just like how much can you accomplish with a sort of simple set of elements. Um, in particular, this.
Yeah, so this part, there's a mechanic that kind of like I said, it just made itself.
Mhm.
Once I got everything working, like the zooming feature, I realized that when you stood on the slider and then changed the because you get parented to the slider object and the scale is changing, and it just kind of looks natural, doesn't it? Like it just shrinks your character. and I just kind of went with that and made it a mechanic, um, which was really cool. Probably one of my favorite parts of the game. And it's actually very broken because you can just get infinitely small and large. So I had to fix that in the new one, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm gonna be honest. I didn't realize that that was a mechanic until you started describing it.
Yeah, that was a problem that I had to deal with. And I tried to make it more intuitive because this version of this level in the next game, the gap that you have to fit through is further up, so you would have to get on the slider to reach it. So I tried to make it a little more intuitive. Um, but yeah, people still weren't realizing that that's what was happening. Um, so I'm not entirely sure what to do about that. But I think, enough people got it to where it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll address that in a second. I just wanted to quickly say hello to Funbase Alpha. Welcome to the stream. How are you guys doing? And yeah, I mean, I think right now it's actually just the platforming itself that I'm getting myself killed on these spikes here. And
The cool thing is you can, if you slow down the time and lower the gravity, it's way easier.
Yeah, I'd sort of started to do that on the previous. Okay, so I've made myself extra small now. Can I fit over here? Because I see that there's the star, but is the star actually necessary to collect?
No, it's just bonus.
It's a bonus. Okay. Well, let's go for it. You know. The one thing I should clear that out of the way. Defenseless Baby, the criteria for a game interview is just, do you have a game that you want to talk about on the stream? I don't know if that's exactly what you were looking for, but really, I'm happy to talk to anybody who wants me to take a look at their game. In particular, I reached out to everybody who was featured in Mark's video for the GMTK top 20, and got back a fair number of replies this time around. So that's what the next couple weeks are going to be. It's largely booked up through to September, because I've only booked 3 interviews to give each one space. I figured 40 minutes apiece would be a healthy amount of room. But yeah, I'm always open to checking out people's games. So, let me see if I can just.
So that jump, I wouldn't. If you jump there, you're probably gonna die unless you do it. Oh, well, you got it. Nice.
Oh, in that sense.
But you can actually use the time slider as a platform there.
I see. I also noticed that I have the ability to just quickly let go of the button, and that terminates my jump.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually spent a fair bit of time on the basic platforming controls. There's some coyote time, there's a jump cut. Tried to get the physics of the jump feeling pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
People were saying it's still a little slidey, so I made it a little bit tighter in the new version.
The victory sound is a little rough when it's slowed down all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
Real quick, Dino0040, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? And Defenseless Baby, an Unreal 5 game that I have to download is, I'm going to say it's doable, but make sure you find a way for me to set the quality level down, because Unreal will default everything to Ultra, and that will bog down my system resources so badly that I won't be able to play the game. And now we've got an all black level, so let's see if I can figure out brightness. Yes. Options. There's a spike on top of this one. Okay. But oh, I can click over to here. Oh, okay, I see. Oh, and you can even turn off the audio if you want. Enter text. Oh. I think I just started typing hello world. I'm not sure if that had any consequences, but
it doesn't disable the control, so you can still if you type P, it'll unpause. So I fixed that, and you can still move around and stuff, but I fixed that too.
Okay, cool. Um, so in terms of the issue of like understanding that the character is parented to the button, um, if while the character was standing on the button, let me just see what the way it is right now. So you stand on the button. Hmm. Would it be a way? I'm thinking of like, is there some way to visually represent the fact that the character's outline color matching the button or something like that? I feel like there should be a way to like visually telegraph the fact that the character is like either anchored to the stage itself or anchored to the button that they're standing on. But yeah, I guess
Um,
presently,
well, I was hoping with my idea with the level that introduces the mechanic is that they would see there's a gap that they can't fit through, and so
mhm.
the only thing that they could do is to get on the slider and try to go back. Um, and then when they pull it up, they would realize that they're shrinking, and then just kind of put two and two together.
Yeah. So is that level in the game currently, or is that the level that you've redone?
It's in the current one. It's not
Okay.
super well done. Um, I think I did it a little bit better in the newer version.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the how the difference of that plays out because the what you're describing of like the little blobby character. I do this pretty often as I just open up Paint and start sketching. But if you've got like a sort of high up gap that you need to use the scale slider to like ride and get to the top, but that gap is made such that it matches the character's sort of current size, so that when you ride that up, you think like, oh, well, what the heck? My character is now like scaled up. I can't fit through here. And then maybe you put a little platform over here so the character can jump off the scale slider and like rescale the level to match themselves. Something like that. So they have the ability to do what they would intuitively think that they should just be able to like jump on the scale and then like scale the level down or whatever. But then like in doing that, you kind of like trick them into like that it doesn't actually work that way.
Yeah. Um, well, you don't actually scale the entire level. It only shrinks the player. Like when you're standing on a slider and you zoom in, the player's size stays the same relative to the screen.
Yeah, and then so doing this, but there's the difference between oops. So there's a difference between standing on the slider and then you're scaling yourself versus not standing on the slider and scaling the world around you, right?
Well, you're just zooming in.
Yeah,
It
you're
doesn't
only
change the
zooming.
scale.
I see. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
You could
It's
actually look at the new one if you want, if you're interested in doing that.
yeah. I like if this is still a design quandary you want to pursue. I'm happy to take a look at it. But otherwise, we can continue with the interview as regular or as normal.
Um, well, I'll send you a link
Sure.
to the new one and I think level 5 is the pause or the shrinking one.
Okay. Because now that I know that that is a mechanic in the game, um, cool. Yeah, I'll leave this on my secondary monitor here. Oh my gosh, maximum security.
Oh yeah, I put a password up.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm
Probably.
leaving that on the other screen. Um, so yeah, that's what I was wondering, Swanson Games, is that Swanson G games. Is there a point to changing the scale of the level? So is it this one you haven't encountered the mechanic sort of before? Okay, so you can click this and then exit levels tab. Okay, so that's the only issue you end up running into is that when you have the ability to change levels in the game, like you need an actual menu that isn't. Okay.
I'm not sure what you mean, but this like build has all of the levels unlocked.
Yes.
If that's what you mean.
No. I just meant like when your UI is actually a part of the game, but then you need a UI to actually be functional and exit the level that you're in. Like it just adds like a slight extra layer of, okay, there's pausing, but then there's actually like pausing the game. But I mean, yeah, so you can hit pause or escape. I see they both do the same thing, and then clicking the button here is what actually brings this up.
Yeah, that's like the actual pause menu.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can exit the level at any time. It just tells you how to do it there.
Yeah. So in this level here, this is what's introducing us to the concept of like being able to I see, like we're not actually scaling the level or doing anything. All we're doing in this case is, so this is also kind of an odd behavior here where I'm like trying to drag the slider down to the bottom and it's,
yeah, they don't like, they just kind of smoothly follow the cursor. I had to do that to remove a lot of cheese.
Right.
This isn't the shrink level.
No, not yet. Yeah, this is the level that's like teaching you about gravity, but you still, it's not the shrink level. It's just the first time that you've had to use this slider in the middle to like actually get your character onto the screen.
Yeah.
And I realized that it's also necessary to get this star, which I didn't notice the first time. Oh my gosh, that noise. Okay. And then this level, you just have the, which menu? Well, settings menu. Ah, okay. So this is where you are now. Reset scale, dark mode. Okay, so there's quite a bit more here than the base game.
Yeah, there's added a new menu. There's also some new like blocks that have unique mechanics. There's a lot more. I'm excited to get it out. But yeah, so this is the shrink level. So there's a gap up there that clearly you can't fit through.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to ride the slider up, and then hopefully people will realize that they're shrinking as they ride it up.
Right. So you start over here, and then you need to use this slider like an elevator, to get over top of it. But you also need to, you know what? I can tell you something right now. Cool Math Games is going to ask you to get rid of that blood.
Yeah, I was a little worried about that because they said like no violence in there. All right, well, so I can do that.
Hop on this.
I mean, would making the particles like white be enough, or?
Yeah.
Still.
They. But yeah, sorry. I guess to address one thing at a time here. Like we arrived at this point in the level, and yeah, we are immediately like. I'm just wondering if. Yeah, because riding this up is effectively shrinking the character down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, starting out too large and then needing to. What?
And then you would have to get off of it.
Yeah. Is there a way? Well, yeah, I mean, theoretically, if I don't stand on the button, then it's not changing my scale, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be helpful to illustrate a change when the button is or isn't changing the character size. This kind of thing, by the way, of like forcing the player to like ride the slider and then change their change their scale to like fit through the button is exactly what I was talking about, though. But I'm also like,
If you lower gravity, it'll be easier.
right. Okay, I also need to make myself smaller. Did you cap the minimum size for the character in this build?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I'm like, I feel like I'm keep trying to make my character smaller so they'll fit through the gap, but there is that minimum size, which is good because we don't want them to be. There we go. Yeah, I think this layout is definitely more intuitive towards like teaching the player how to. So if I go back to the original level, is it this one or is it?
Oh, I see a question.
Yeah.
Is there a point to the zooming excluding the size change? Definitely. You can actually move because later on you can use the platforms to like push buttons and stuff. So you move the sliders around to be able to reach those buttons.
Yes.
And there's other uses too, but that's like the main one.
Yeah, sorry, I saw the question in chat earlier, and then I half brought it up, but then got distracted by the build that you sent me. So the other thing I was going to address was your question about the like the censorship. What you can do is changing the colors is fine. That was the main thing that they were concerned in my game. You can change color palettes, and basically there was one of the color palettes. There's like a regular color, and then there's a danger color, and there was this like skull enemy I had, and since one of the danger colors were red, they said like, oh, it kind of looks like the skull has like bloody teeth on it. And I was like, okay. So I basically just removed red as a hazard color from my game. So rather than the character like hitting spikes and like spraying blood out, what you could do is just have it be all black squares and have like a starburst effect, so that like it looks like the character pops and doesn't just like die, you know?
Okay.
I'm sure that
So
would
I would
be.
have to change the color of the spikes too?
No. You don't. It's not that they're like not allowing there to be red in the game. It was just because in my in that little illustration that I had with the skull, because the teeth were colored red, they said that it looked like the teeth were bloody, and that's what they were trying to avoid. So that's why I just removed the color red, so that no matter what palette you change it to, the teeth on the skull will never change to be red. But the spikes themselves being red, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
You know, like if the spikes were white and then turned red after the character died, that would be like a little grim, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. But yeah, I think this level does a great job in addressing that sort of like core concept of like teaching the player how the like scaling themselves up and down works.
I think I might need to make that jump a little easier because it's a little annoying. But other than that,
because I was bashing my head on it like 10 times in a row. Maybe, I mean, at that point, like your primary concern is just teaching the player about how the mechanic works, and if it was possible to make that jump after you drag the slider all the way to the top, or maybe like near the top, I don't know, because all the way to the top is like too much, clearly. So if you needed to drag it like 3/4 of the way up, and then there was a clear like hopping off point. But that's a very minor concern.
yeah.
All right. So I tried to budget 40 minutes for each of these, and we're already running a little low on time. But we've still got a little bit of time. So, can you talk a little bit about the actual development process for the game?
Sure. So obviously I went in with the main idea of making the UI part of the gameplay. So naturally my first instinct was just to add a collider to the UI element. That did not work. You cannot interact with colliders that are attached to UI. So that was probably my biggest challenge, was just getting the core concept to even work. But basically, you've got the UI element, which is actually part of the UI, and then you've got colliders that are like the ground that follows the UI, and Basically, I just programmed those to get like the screen position of the UI and then convert that to world position. And then I took the scale of like the rect transform scale
Mm-hmm.
of the UI and then like did some math to convert that to world scale. And then that updates every frame. And I had to take the camera zoom into account.
Yeah.
So I played some other games that used UI as like part of the gameplay, and I didn't see any that really like emphasized the fact that it was UI, because most of it just felt like it was a platform that you could just like click or move around or something.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like actually part of the UI. So I added the camera zoom to sort of emphasize that the UI can like change and interact with the world in more interesting ways. Um, and that wasn't too difficult. I just had to account for the orthographic size in the scale calculation. Um, and then once I got the sliders working, I just like came up with a couple more things. Like I thought it would be really cool to have some text that you could type out and then like walk on.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty tough. Basically, I just found this like random variable that's like part of the text component in Unity, and it's called like preferred size, and apparently that's like the length of the text in pixels, and so I just like converted that to like the scale of the collider. Um, that was
It,
pretty cool. Oh yeah, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the new game, is you've got these boxes that you can move the entire screen with and use that to push buttons and do all kinds of stuff. Um, so
yeah, I guess it just leads to some slightly strange behavior when it starts getting pushed and then like pushed out of colliders and
yeah, yeah, there was a lot of clipping through walls in the previous game, so I made it so that when it starts like going into a wall, it can't it just like goes through the UI instead of the wall.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, basically you just if you restart and then just click on that at the beginning,
Mhm.
it'll you just hit R to restart, and
Yeah,
then
I
you'll be
see.
able to hit the button with the gravity.
Yeah, so what is actually causing the like button to move? Is it supposed to be able to move like that?
Um, what do you mean?
Like the level that I just played there was at number 7. Yeah, yeah. So this like little eye block ended up moving towards the middle of the screen, and that's what was causing the level to be impossible to solve. So whoops, back settings. Like, do you know what was causing it to like essentially change position like that?
Yeah, so you can move it. It's basically a box,
Oh,
and the camera follows it, so it's trying to stay centered. But since the UI is actually pushing it up, it'll just keep moving until it's centered. And that actually is a mechanic that you have to do, that you have to use later to move the boxes around.
I see. Okay. Yeah, it's because it's not that you can click and drag it, it's that clicking it either focuses the camera on that or sort of like recenters the level away from it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then you can get into kind of a feedback loop when there's a slider in the way, and then that starts pushing the block, and then that starts. Yeah, I see. I see. I see. Just like that.
Yep.
Um,
It's a little jank. It's
yeah,
not free of bugs, but I did my best. I think it's pretty decent for the most part. I spent a lot of time fixing bugs and preventing cheese.
yeah. I mean, this is getting you pretty far towards the intended like experience in the game, and then I can only imagine like you'd have to spend twice as much time making it so robust that these kinds of edge cases and collisions don't end up happening. And at that point, is you have to question like whether that extra investment of time is worth it to create something that is like 100% perfect versus it works, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. As that being said, what do you think was the most difficult problem that you encountered in the development of either the current game or the update? I should say, sorry, either the jam version of the game or the current version of the game, and how did you solve it?
For the jam version, it was the just getting the concept to work, figuring out how to make the platforms actually follow the UI accurately.
Mhm.
Um, for the new version, I introduced if you go to I think level 16, I
Mhm.
introduce a new mechanic. There's a new box, and basically when you stand on it and then rotate it, it moves your gravity. Um,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
so your gravity becomes a different direction. Um, and for some reason, doing that like made your scale really weird when you were parented to UI objects that weren't a 1-to-1 ratio, so your character would get like super stretched out. Um, so I had to come up with a weird way to fix that, but it worked. Um, basically, I just made it so that all of them were, instead of scaling the object that you're parented to, it just scales the collider part. Um, so that's how I fixed that, but that took a while for me to implement correctly.
Yeah, I I can definitely run in. I can imagine running into the like the nightmare of the parenting and the association and
Yeah, I think in general, just parenting was the hardest thing, because there's so many like things that unparent you, and like there's another mechanic that like forces you to be parented to something every frame, um, and that was kind of hard to deal with. That's the drop down mechanic, but that's level 15 introduces that. Um, but
well,
yeah, it was just the parenting in general was probably the biggest headache.
gotcha. Yeah, I think having skipped ahead to this level, I'm a little out of my depth to actually like solve this particular one. But yeah, other than getting the game up on Cool Math Games, have you approached any other platforms?
Not yet. I probably will. I mean, the biggest one I'm working on is Cool Math. Um, uh, yeah, this whole like getting onto platforms is kind of new to me, so I'm just waiting for their response, and then I'll see what they want me to change, and then I'll probably release it on my own, probably for free, just because I don't really have a big enough audience to make it payable yet. Um, but yeah, I would love to get it on some other platforms, maybe like Armor Games or like I don't know all of the ones that are still active since Flash was taken down.
Hmm.
Um, I know there's like Congregate, Yeppy. I don't know if Yeppy is still up, but as many as I can, honestly.
Well, I mean, Defenseless Baby. It's super nice of you to say that you'd pay for this. Don't throw it out for free. There was actually an interview that I had very recently where I talked about like what are the advantages to releasing games for free versus releasing games as paid, and essentially to sort of really quickly summarize my point is that there has to be a balance that you find between the games that you release for free to sort of build your personal brand so that you can then get people interested in paying for a game.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that having the game available as a free version on Cool Math Games, Armor Games, and um, then like offering people the option to pay for it as a download is one option. Like sort of free in web browser, paid download, or even just having the like pay what you want feature with itch.io. Um, but yeah, it's a tough balance to strike when you're just trying to start out your career as a game developer and get people to notice you. And because I agree, it's a really cool concept, and as you said, like there are other games that let you like use the UI, but nowhere near to the same extent as the complexity that I'm seeing here. So yeah, that being said, I don't want to. Just trying to back and then close. There we go. So click on this. I just wanted to solve this level before we wrap things up because I feel like I finally understood what I'm supposed to do in terms of like slowing down the gravity and slowing down the game speed. But yeah, so do you want to take a second to let people know where they can find you on social media, and do you have any other projects you'd like to plug?
Um, sure. I'm Ekran pretty much everywhere. I'll just spell it out. Well, yeah.
Here, we can drop a link if you have. Oops, I clicked away from the game. See it written out
Yeah, I've got
here.
Instagram. I might start doing YouTube stuff. I don't really know. I'm more concerned with just getting games out. But I have a YouTube. I got Itch. I have an Instagram. I'm kind of just starting out. I don't really have much of a platform.
It's all good.
I guess following Itch would probably be the main one.
Yep, I made sure to drop a link to that in the chat. And if you have any other projects that you'd like to send my way in future, I'd be happy to take a look at them, have an interview process, like actually talk about the design. Like if you want to come back on the stream, we can have a more like design focused conversation. I don't know, did you see the conversation I was having with Gingerbread before the interview?
Yeah, I was here.
Yeah, so something like that where I'm like actually giving more focused feedback and like talking through the actual design of the game. I'm always happy to do that.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
So could be with this project, could be with a future one down the line, but in any case, thank you so much, Rhett, for joining me on the stream.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Yeah, best of luck. I will remind me if I don't message you after the stream, and I'll put you in contact with my put you in touch with my contact at School Map Games.
Sweet.
All right, thanks again, and have a good one.
You too.
Thanks a lot. Bye for now.